Hello, welcome back to the Funky Wrench channel. My name is Louie and it has been a minute. I'm glad to be back. This is part 2 of the Backwall build series. Last video I showed you how to break down some old cabinets for reuse, and I showed you my new hardware organization system. In this video I will show you how to get dead level cabinets on your slanted, broken, cracked, wavy shop floors. And I'll show you how I built some cabinets for my shop. Am I in frame? Yes. Am I? Yes. So I want to lay out where the toe kicks for this cabinet are going to be. And my floor in this workshop is wavier than the Atlantic Ocean. Not a flat spot on it. So we're going to have to do some figuring here. This is a long explanation, so bear with me here. I've laid out where the cabinet is going to go. So the front corner of the cabinet is going to be this point right here. I then used my level to figure out the height difference between the back wall and the front of the cabinet. Turns out it's about 1.25 inches. So I need to take 1.25 inches away from 37, which is the height I want my cabinet to be. Then I need to subtract 31.5, which is the height of the cabinet itself. So that brings me back down here. That mark will give me the height of the back toe kick or back riser, whatever you want to call it, and I can use that mark to set up my laser level and then go from there. I hope that makes sense.
Now that I have the first reference point, I can set up the laser and find my next point at the other end of the cabinet. You could use a regular level for this, but it might just take a little extra finagling. Then I can measure from the laser to the floor on both ends, and that gives me the height for each end of the back riser.
3 1/4, 4 and 1/8.
I'm using up a 2x12 I had lying around for the toe kicks, so first I will cut it to length and then rip it down to size. Since this cut isn't parallel to an edge, I used my track saw instead of the table saw. And of course, you could use a regular circular saw as well. Turns out I was about 1/8 of an inch off, but I just shimmed it up a little bit and it worked out. If this was a regular stud wall, you might just secure this riser by fastening it directly to the studs. But since my garage has these I-beams that reinforce the foundation, I figured I would just bolt it directly to them.
Now that I have my back riser in, I can reference it to figure out the height of the front riser. I'll do that by using a 4-foot level and some shims. Now that my level is level, I can just measure from the bottom of the level to the floor, and that is the height of my front toe kick. And that is 5 3/8. Now that I have my height for this end, I'll do the same process to get my height for the other end.
And with my two heights figured out, I could cut down the front riser with the track saw. To attach the front riser to the back riser, I just cut down some 2x material and used pocket screws. With the base in place, I could move in the cabinet. I made this cabinet pre-camera, and it holds 15 vegetable crates, Euro crates, I don't know. I got them after a job a few years ago, and they're great for holding tools and all their accessories. Anyways, I just used a few screws to hold the cabinet to the base, and I could load it up. And with that, this part of the project was finished. The next part of the project was to build new base cabinets for the left side of the wall. In case you missed it, in the last video I showed how to break down old cabinets to get reusable pieces. Those pieces are what I'm using for this new cabinet. I set up my super high-tech stop block on the crosscut sled so I could get the side pieces exactly the same length. Then I cut down the rest of the pieces from the old parts.
Since I'm using some reclaimed pieces of wood, several of them have this little notch cut out from where the toe kick used to be. So to fill that in, I'm just going to cut a piece of wood and glue it in there.
I left the pieces a bit big, so once the glue dried, I could cut them down to the perfect size. And with all my pieces cut, I can assemble the cabinets. I'm not doing anything special here, just pocket holes. I like to use clamping squares when building big things like cabinets. They make sure things are square and they also hold everything in place while I drive in the screws. You can buy a set of these pretty cheap online, but I made mine out of plywood a few years ago and they work just fine. These cabinets are really nothing fancy, just big boxes that are pocket screwed together. And for the backs, I used 1/8 inch masonite. Off camera, I built 2 more base cabinets and repeated the same toe kick leveling process as before. Then I put everything in place.
Okay, these cabinets are built. I gotta still screw them in, install them yet. But this space here is going to be a miter saw station. So I have specific measurements from this cabinet to this cabinet that I need to reference when I'm installing this.
Speaking of installing, I got to work measuring, double measuring, and triple measuring before screwing the cabinets into place. And with the first one installed, I could just move on down the line.
Next, I want to add the countertop for these cabinets, but this drainage pipe makes this space kind of weird. So I'm going to go ahead and put the countertop in place, screw it down, trace out some lines, trim it down in an attempt to make this area feel a little more accessible. All that's left construction-wise on these cabinets is to add in the shelves, and I'll do that using pocket screws. To make my life easier, I'm going to use these scrap pieces, clamp them at the correct height, put the shelves in place, screw them in, and then move to the next one. And I'm purposely not using glue here because I may want to change the layout of these shelves in the future.
I think this is where I will end this video. There is still quite a bit more to do on this back wall project, and I didn't want to make this video too long. So be on the lookout for the finale, coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.
Shelves are in. Let's load it up. Cut.